is just part of that. And welcome if we're live now on BurnEye's channel. Welcome,
yes,
everybody.
We are.
Hello.
And, right, so alchemy being both spiritual side and the physical science side of it, where I come from with it, and deciphering all of these ancient symbols and language and how advanced it really is, and that we give credit to ancient alchemy for creating modern chemistry, but it also created basically the pharmaceutical industry. It was the medical health community services in the communities back in the day, and it's crazy fascinating stuff. And
Definitely.
here you're playing Mike Ancient or Alien Carvings, his Mexico collection of artifacts. And what really gets me is the amount and the accuracy of the pictographic symbol languages that are on these artifacts, and a lot of alchemy symbols within it. So it's either the world's craziest hoax and highest quality hoax artifacts ever, or it just
That's hilarious.
changes the world. Who knows? It's fascinating stuff.
My brain is also awesome because he's very open-minded, and he does come with a bit of a spiritual background into all of this as well. He whose son did you meet again? I'm sorry. I can't think of it all of a sudden.
Who and what now? See, something like that one looks more fake, and I guarantee that like a portion of the artifacts are probably fakes, and then a portion are real, is what I'm guessing. But
what I would, what's hard too is something that would be good to compare all this to is like what came out of the Kincaid caves, because there was heavy Egyptian symbolism, like I'm seeing on this. Then that's not a pine cone, is it? Yeah.
The Kincaid, as well as the Burroughs Cave and
Illinois caves. Oh, that's the Burroughs Cave. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, duh.
The Burroughs, and then there's the what's the other one? There's the Utah one as well, right? Terry covers both of them. We gotta do an episode with Terry. He's perfect to have on your Pareidolia Dream series for sure.
Yes.
As well.
And so obviously Bill Adams, I'll have him on, and I'm probably going to end up going to Utah to spend a little time and help him with some stuff he needs help with, and arrange with Terry. Terry just, I'd have to, we'll have to like connect, and because he, like, for me to do that, I might have to do it for him, kind of a thing, if that makes sense. But I think I can make it easy for him, so I just have to get it set up. He was admin on here on my StreamYard, but then I've switched it because Shem and I are doing so much work together, so I can always put him back. I don't know if, anyway, regardless, because like we had to do this whole thing when we were at the show. It was hilarious. It took forever because we had to I had to go back and forth with his phone and doing the security thing, but I had to try to set everything up for him. So,
no doubt. Actually.
And it ended up being because I ended up using his tripod, and his tripod was whacking. I should have switched it out, and it kept doing this flop over. It was very high, and I got ridiculed. If you actually look at the video, people just berated me for it. And I was like, I'm so sorry. It will be different. This was on the fly. I was trying to help him last minute because he was trying to do it himself, and I ended up setting StreamYard
right. It was the first time. That's what people don't understand when things are live. It's on the go. It's live. We're learning. It's a learning process and figuring it out and getting it done, right? So,
exactly.
The patience, I guess.
Exactly. So, but yes, we will arrange it. It just might be a bit but it might be closer to after the holidays, but I agree. Again, Bernie, just make sure you have your passport. I got to do the same thing. Told a couple other people, like Bex, any of you guys, Cage. I know you wouldn't need a passport, but because there's a high potential we can do a decent little expedition this upcoming summer, and in that case, we would be interacting, and I'm going to be getting interviews with all these guys.
Oh yeah.
So it's definitely going to add to all this. Like we might be able to start like a show series, you know, and potentially with this is kind of what I'm thinking. But do it really nice and professional. The documentary. Bill Adams has got production experience too, but he that's what he really wants to do. So, but he's also down to do these lives, and you're gonna love that. So I can get him on because I got him to get his laptop sooner than later, and I'm in direct contact. But he knows, you know, he connects with Terry all the time, and I know we'll connect with him.
Perfect, right?
Terry's super cool, super cool.
Both
like,
of them, 100%, each deserving their own series, all in their own. The amount of work they do, it's crazy.
And Bernie, he said to me, I think something about just having a crazy amount of emails. So with in terms of like getting back and stuff, I'm sure that's, you know, what happened. So he's just, this thing is blown up for him and it's awesome. And I can't wait to see what more is going to come out of that area. So what you're showing, that's the one thing to back this up, is that there is other evidence of those symbols and this continued. It's just almost unbelievable the amount that got pulled out, and a little bit the condition they're in. Doesn't it almost look, what if they were moved? That is something we should consider, that they were all taken up from some other location, could still be in the Americas, and then brought down and buried there to hide something for some reason. So that, I feel like, is always a possibility. You know, or somebody stole it all and then to hide it, that's where they specifically put it. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't have validation. So anyway, thank you for letting me share that. And now, everybody, what we really wanted to get into some alchemy talks. I'm going to let Bernie chat it up for a while. And welcome, everybody. Thank you so much.
Find the specific.
Oh, you want me to get it? You want me
picture here? Sorry, just trying to find a reference picture. It's not wanting to cooperate too well. Actually, it's hiding.
Bernie, do you have any of your alchemy experiments handy, or are they all out? Did you have to take them out, and do you have them in a different spot that you could show some of that to
gauge,
yeah,
no, I can share some of that for sure.
I'm gonna put you full screen. Oh wait, and we got this too. Sorry,
we got monoatomic gold, silver, copper, and zinc all within this glass right here. But I've make all of them. When I make monoatomic gold, it's 24 karat gold anode, 24 karat gold cathode, and it turns into the pure white monoatomic powder off of the anode side. And then I've also gotten the purple state gold and silver as well. And I believe this to potentially be the Philosopher's Stone. I'm going to be doing an episode all on that on its own, but a combination of monoatomic gold and silver that turns purple. So it's a plasmid, and mono being a single atom, and then when it's in these clusters, it's multiple of them. But before I came on, you were mentioning the blue oxidized copper, and any of these monoatomics, when they oxidize, and so that's the single metal atom, that monoatomic copper or gold or silver, and then it bonds with an oxygen atom, becoming diatomic, and die for two, but die because you will die from heavy metal poisoning if you consume this oxidized version of it. And that's why people turn blue when they're getting that heavy metal poisoning, because it's just building up within them. And since it's this nanomaterial, these fluffy powder metals, that when you touch it, it absorbs through the skin. But the monoatomic state being a plasma state of solid metal elements, where gases, when they're ionized, are in their plasma states. Plasma being the fourth state of matter. So it's quite advanced science, and this isn't necessarily the right one I wanted to show. So
so it's like, I was gonna say, it's like organic chemistry, pretty much.
Oh, big time. That's a huge part of it. And when I put my blood into some of the electrolysis reactions, it actually starts replicating and reproducing your amino acids, your RNA, and essentially your nano or biochemistry within it. It's crazy stuff. And
it's like electrolysis, right? With the anode, negative and positive. You can even do it just with regular water. Apparently, people actually sell that as a pesticide.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
like
Exactly.
Organic pesticide.
What do they sell as a pesticide? Sorry, what do they sell as a pesticide?
Electrolysis water. There's a company called Mighty Wash that sells that, but it just has a surfactant in it and water that's went through that process, and it destroys bugs. It like explodes them. It's weird.
Really? I hadn't actually seen that. That's cool.
Yeah, colloidal silver, as well as like oxidized copper, the diatomic, the green blue, it is known and used as antiviral, antibacterials, especially the water.
Colloidal silver in agriculture it's also used to feminize plants.
Yeah, right. And I've been doing experiments with exactly that, and fascinating results, and
he actually
mind-blowing stuff.
Sorry, just really quick. You had two plants, same plant, and you did one without and one with, and he was able to show the progress over a series of time, and he might have that to pull up. But it's profound.
You can do it through intention too, not even through like a physical anything external. Yeah.
Which I would love. Like, this is, and Bernie would back me. I know you back me up on all this, but like to be able to have both sets of experiments, right? To have like one set like intention and one with the alchemy, organic alchemy.
Right. So that's going to be part of the control and experiments I do next year in this third year of trials and experiments with it. And I'll be doing a episode here on this past summer's final results in the next week or two in the Real Science series that I do. I just need a minute to find the alchemical pictures that I'm looking for, the reference. But in the meantime, this right here is very fascinating. The symbols of the table of elements of alchemy.
So do you believe the Philosopher's Stone is a physical substance?
Yeah, I do I suspect it to be this purple gold plasmid gold silver purple nano silver gold combination. And it's because a lot of the drawings called the Philosopher's Stone will show like a pond or some water, and then like plants or snakes, and then the heads of them, one will be the sun and one will be the moon. The sun representing gold in alchemy and the moon representing silver in alchemy. And when I combined them and did it in the experiments, instead of the white monoatomic, it made the pure purple out of the gold silver, and it's actually put out quite the noxious smelling gas, which it was abnormal. All of the other electrolysis experiments I've done with the small voltage in salt water, usually it's just hydrogen, oxygen coming off, and no odor or scent at all. Including when I do gold on gold or silver on silver. But that combination, it's something else.
Yeah, like the Alchemist phrase, vitriol. right? So
Yep.
it's a Latin term, and it pretty much translates to visit the interior of the earth and rectifying it, you'll find the hidden stone. So with these alchemical, it's all allegorically hidden, right? With these, with all the symbology. So what I believe is the lunar and the sun is representing the left and the right hemisphere of the brain, right? The right hemisphere being the logic, being the sun, and left being emotion, the feminine energy, or the lunar. And combining these two, right, it creates a convergence. For example, in Freemasonry, I was bringing this up before, it's like the two pillars of Joaquin and Boaz, right? And once you combine these together, then you get the Philosopher's Stone. It's within your mind, it's within you, and having this convergence opens up. It creates different electromagnetic fields within the brain that are being produced, and therefore can affect reality and change reality, and you're living on your own script, kind of thing. Which, from my have you looked into a lot of the older hermetic or alchemical texts, like the Corpus Hermeticum? All these other ones are the basic ones. It kind of all
No,
leads to
absolutely. I agree that, and you're covering the spiritual alchemy side, the metaphysical side of it, and that's what can be so dogmatic and controversial with alchemy is that it combines science and spirit into one science and master science, and taught as science of God and creation, essentially. And the emotion, the spirit, and all of it, 100%, you're bang on with it all.
Yeah, right. So there's exoteric alchemy and esoteric alchemy, which is like, the physical stuff where you're getting into spagyrics and all this, creating these elixirs or whatever. So I think this is just like it's supposed to be taken almost like an allegorical, in an allegorical context. That it's opening your mind to greater possibilities of understanding by doing the physical work. Right. So it goes back to the tria prima: thought, emotion, and action. So you do need to do some physical action, and in order to have the desired result, like on all levels, metaphysically, physically, all of it. To have the convergence of them. There's definitely something to the exoteric alchemy for sure.
Yeah, and I get into it quite deeply through Sir Isaac Newton's alchemical writings and the translations, and it being published for the first time ever, actually, just 5-10 years ago now, and that I started reproducing a lot of his transmutational states of metal elements, and that's what really got me understanding and experimenting and on this journey of rediscovering the advanced science of alchemy of the ancients.
Yep. Newton was definitely studying the works of Paracelsus. Paracelsus, which is before him, which is like the grandfather of toxicology, and he was an alchemist too. A lot of like the leaders and the like presidents and all that, a lot of them are into alchemy and stuff like that. This is why they were so successful.
Called dark side, sadly. Yeah. But there's just as much light and love, light, and hope within the positive side. Just the balance and the duality.
It's like as above, so below. You can't have one without the other, right? So it's needed. It's needed to be there in a way. Can't avoid it. But yeah, people get some sort of alchemical.
My main top that ends up being my main, like, everything comes back to that every time we have these discussions, and just like trying to decipher the polarity. What is that? What does that mean? Why are we in this existence with this? Was there something before it? And how does it connect?
Yep. It's definitely very interesting, right? And what happens is a lot of people get this hidden knowledge or esoteric. They get a new understanding of how things work, and they're tempted to use it for their own personal gain, or to manipulate situations around them or people. And that never ends well. You know, it's a warning that they always talk about. You know, going for that gold. You know, you go and grab that gold, even though you can. It doesn't usually end well for you, you know, because this goes way beyond the ego, like the personalized ego.
Yeah, and it definitely has to do with some sort of energetic, like, breakup of the stagnation of what they're doing. Like, it's just too much in one direction. So the energy is going to pull it back, right, into the other direction.
Yeah, even like I've been going deep into the Rosicrucians lately. And, you know, there's a few books that they released, the Famous Fraternitatis, the Alchemical Wedding of Christian Rosencreutz, and it's always, you know, alchemy is actually the baseline for all religion, I believe, in a way. And it all goes back to Hermetic or Kemetic or alchemical kind of ideology. But it's veiled and hidden and then repackaged for the general population as kind of like a control mechanism. You know, repurposed.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Top Notch Creations, for the super sticker. Greatly appreciated. And I just pulled up the other laptop there, Sarah, if you want to share the other. Yes, this one here. And I will let everyone look at it for a moment, and then I will explain. Or actually, let's get, sorry, what? It was Gage or
Cage.
Cage.
His channel, by the way, is Caged Reality for everybody on BurnEye's channel. Post that in the chat.
Yes, please do. And so, yeah, I'll maybe get your interpretation of this first, and then I'll explain what I've interpreted out of it on the experimental scientific side.
What, on these alchemical symbols? Well, they're all related to astrology or sacred geometry, right? So you have fire and water. You combine those two together. What do you get? You get a hexagram that is used for, you know, everyone uses that hexagram. Israel, Star of David, whatever you want to call it, which is like the convergence of the
tetragrammaton.
Yeah, tetragrammaton. Yeah, the 26 equals to 26. The Yod He Vav He, the ineffable name of God or their God or whatever, their idea of it. But yeah, the sun, for example, it's also used in masonry. It's called the monad. You can search it up. Like, for example, this is why they have the compass, right? You create the singular point and are able to create a circle around it. It's like one of the first forms of reality, right? But besides that, yeah, it's all astrologically aligned, and you know, what were your thoughts on it? You break it down.
I think you might have to take a second. There's definitely here he comes, but that definitely heavy on, and that's one of my debates with how this, whatever we're in, universe, whatever you want to call it, functions. You cannot deny the heavy influence.
Yeah.
So what I've figured out with it, the 4 elements, it actually means the 4 states of elements. And it starts with air being a gas, water being a liquid, earth being a solid, and fire being plasma. And then it says plus the elements, which stands for, well, the periodic table of elements that we had up right before all of this. So it's any of those elements in the 4 states of matter. And the sulfur being your positive up reaction, mercury your negative down reaction. In this electrolysis, the salt or the salt water, when you get the 3 principles of it. For those watching on my channel that have followed my work or have heard this before of the sun is gold, and that when I make the monoatomic gold, it only now I've discovered it only works in the day. As soon as the sun sets, it starts making this black dust stuff instead, not the pure white or the purple or the gold colored nanomaterial, rather this non-oxidized or hydroxide gold
hear that
instead.
part.
Yeah, and that's the second part, because I first realized the correlation with the moon cycle and making monoatomic silver when I left it on for a month, and noticed that the rate of production of silver that the alchemists also called to the moon, when the moon was waxing and waning, there was barely any made. On a full moon, there was a whole bunch made. And on super moons, it'll completely fill the container that you're making the monoatomic silver in. And then I demonstrated on the Alien Scientist channel during an eclipse, I believe last year, right around Christmas or something it was, that, or the New Year, that it was making a whole bunch. I turned it on right as it was a full moon before the eclipse.
Yeah.
And then as the eclipse happened during the stream, it completely stopped making it. And then as the eclipse passed and went back to a full moon, it started speeding up and making a whole bunch of it again. So a couple of the metals that the alchemists labeled directly to heavenly bodies, directly to elements, seems to have physical correlations to them. And that how these heavenly bodies move around above us in the heavens, affecting the energy that we receive here on this plane. And that's the physics and science, I guess, behind astrology.
Oh yeah, well, there's definitely an effect when it comes to the moon. Obviously, this is why we have high and low tides, and there is an effect with the moon, and we are made mostly out of water, so it probably has an effect on people too. So.
Well, we know for sure
Absolutely.
it does with women in our cycle. And
Yep.
Dom and I were talking about this specifically because of fasting and the concept of doing it in the moon cycle, especially with women, and something that I'm going to be experimenting with and reporting back on. But you are actually supposed to avoid fasting and high intensity workouts a week prior to your menstrual cycle. And then it has to do with your hormones. And you guys were getting into this with how it was, I think was it UK talking about amino acids, but there's the effects that it has to do with your metabolic rate and like that connection with your hormones is what I'm getting at. So anyway, I think that's obvious. Like, think about the wax and wane with what you're talking about with the growth of the monatomic gold and silver, and the fact that we, as like blood and water bodies, that we would be obviously highly affected by that kind of fluctuation. It's the whole wax wane.
Yeah, I didn't bring that up. I think it was Dominic's wife in that video we were playing. But sorry, crypto. Sorry about
that. Just any hospital or like emergency call center or crisis center, talk to anyone that works there, and they will laugh and be like, yeah, undeniably, statistically, everything, the busiest day of the month every month is the full moon. And people go loony on the lunar cycle.
So I did tell you this too, that in the hospital settings and across the board, you'd ask anybody, yes, nurses, doctors, anybody, about the full moon. It's the 3 day after, the 3 day before factor. And that's when I saw my sickest and most craziest patients. And when I say craziest, that is a construct, so don't listen to me when I say that. There's a heavy mental health factor going on here with trauma, generational trauma.
Their energy, their emotion being triggered on the lunar cycle of the full moon.
If they're already out of sorts, or there's like a misfiring happening, wouldn't it be heightened during that time? Possibly because it's pushing in that direction.
I do suspect so. Like it seems to be the case, and it connects why I guess the powers that be, the abusers and oppressors, still follow these occult practices of the astrology, numerology, the ritual sacrifice, and um, to go into that, what really, stuck with me to the core is what historically that they are bad for the nation state of Israel, and that we recently had a tetrade of blood moons, about 5 or 6 years ago, 7 years ago now, in the last decade or whatever. And when they started in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, where I live, the city, there was a murder. There was a like a multi-murder, 5 people brutally, viciously stabbed to death at a party, university party, and it turned out to be the son of the chief, or the head of the police or something like that of Calgary, or one of the departments. Anyways, this high up guy's son, who was just about to become a lawyer or something, and when it happened, he I guess said he got possessed by a demon at a party, and cold-blooded, in hand, stabbed to death 5 of his classmates and friends or something. I was like, I guarantee they're gonna he's gonna get off with claiming insanity and only serve a year or 2 or something and be back into his
well, it's Canada. Yeah, I'm in Canada.
Seems
too.
like
our laws are lax.
Pretty sure.
Yeah. So I was gonna get back to the alchemy thing, but before I forget, crypto. Okay, you know that monoatomic, isn't that kind of the green line, or the aqua regia or whatever? Because isn't that consuming aqua matter gold? Yeah, aqua regia or whatever, or the green lion in alchemy.
Aqua.
Yeah, aqua, so, REGIA. Because they say that's consuming the sun or gold, right? So.
Yeah, it's one of the processes of the transmutation of the elements, right? The chemical way. And just, right, commonly used array element symbols, and how much those look like electrical symbols and electrical engineering right there. I wonder why.
Yeah, we were just talking about that earlier. A lot of them actually look like, the Goetic or Solomonic magic. The Goetia and Ars Materia and that. They look just like the sigils found in those texts, which does have an alchemical and a strong. It's all related. It's all connected. Right? So I don't know. I wouldn't say that anything physical in the philosopher's stone is my understanding of alchemy. Yeah.
Well, you can transmute it, into essentially, that is definitely one way of looking at these right here, right? The Seals of Solomon, 72 demons, and all look like advanced circuitry. There's no doubt about it. These look circuits to different portals. The energy, it spooks the shit out of me, and I always make sure I seal salt around myself when experimenting in the lab, just to make sure I don't accidentally release some demons in a portal that you might accidentally create. And I don't practice. I don't practice the spell aspect whatsoever in my work, just the science part.
I have 3 original audiobooks I created on my channel. You should look into them. It's called The Alchemist Cage. It's 3 parts. You'll like it.
I definitely will.
First part has to do with physical alchemy. Those hidden gems in it, you'll understand.
100%, and just as much the spiritual alchemy, the metaphysical side, just as real and accurate and important in interpreting and understanding and applying the transmutation of your own life and soul and spirit to the philosopher's stone, or pure gold, as they say is the goal, I guess. Goal of gold.
So this is reminding me, this is not the only place that you see these kind of symbols. And there's hieroglyphics that look like this. I was trying to figure out where I saw these and found some that directly look like what you're looking at. I'm just trying to figure, are these supposed to be Sumerian?
No, these are
Solomonic sigils.
Yeah.
I wonder if you recognize
Solomon's 72 sigils of demons.
And there's also 72 angels, which makes it 144. But if you look into it, this is what masonry is all about. Their magic, and masonry is it's like married to fucking alchemy, really. And if you look into masonry, you'll find that, you know, the whole story of Solomon, and what happened was he had constructed a temple, and he somehow had this knowledge on how to invoke these demons into reality, and they're able to, you know, he was able to seal them with these sigils and control them to help them build the temple. And he had a ring and a brass vessel that he put them all into and buried. And you know, it's all allegorical. Nachi, how you doing, brother? Good to see you.
Yes, welcome Natch to the house.
Allegorical as much as technological, physically, looking at these more and more. I'm afraid to, I'm curious. I almost want to try making one of these things in the lab, but definitely don't want to summon no demons. Maybe one of the angel ones, but what the fuck happens if you all of a sudden portal an angel into your lab?
Do not. I would not fuck with that stuff at all.
Just don't. Just don't.
No, just don't do it then.
Just
don't do it. Leave it alone.
That's why, you know, look but not fucks with. That's it. But I do.
Have you seen these before? Because look at that, the similarity in what you were looking at.
Oh yeah, Walter Russell's work.
Is it because this is supposed to be Sumerian?
That's not Walter. My bad. Wrong picture. The what?
This is supposed to be Sumerian hieroglyphics.
Really?
Yeah.
Those look like more sigils too. 100%.
I know.
Also more electrical currents and technology.
Right? Especially that.
Do you have the seal of Solomon on there?
Jeremiah saying, "Don't play burn, it will bite you back. I made that mistake, never again." All right, yeah. So, and Solomon can keep his playthings. It destroyed him in the end. Yeah, don't fucks with angels and demons. Let's keep it in the human realm, right? It's interesting stuff. What is this higher technology?
Exactly. BurnEye, meet Notch if you haven't met him before. He's one of the, in my opinion, great minds of the community.
You're too kind, Sarah. What's up, BurnEye? I think we might have spoken before. I've definitely been to your channel once or twice a while ago, but maybe we never spoken before. What's up?
Yeah, good
Awesome.
to meet you, see you, and put a face to the name for sure.
Pleasure is mine.
And
What do you think about what we're looking at? Notch lives in India.
Nice, very sacred, spiritual land, and lots of history.
Is there a delay? Is that what I'm experiencing? Is there a slight delay, or what's going on here?
Seems like it, yeah.
I think so. That's what we get for being international.
Realm wide. And it's a full moon now today, I think, or Halloween. Is it Halloween yet?
It was
Where
a full moon
everyone is? I guess it's the daily.
and Harvest
full
Moon. And it was huge.
It was huge. I said it was full yesterday. Girlfriend told me not. She lies. I knew. I knew.
He's on the calendar, which could be all bullshit. So
we had a lunar eclipse a couple days ago over here, here in India. So it was like 11:30 at night till like 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning, something like this, maybe 3. But usually those type of eclipses supposed to be like, you know, pretty like intense times. So yeah.
Yeah, a lot of conspiracy land right now is trying to tie the that eclipse to ritual sacrifice of Matthew Perry. Apparently, not sure about that, but sad loss. Rest his soul, and well, all souls really.
I wouldn't be surprised. Usually these things happen like in threes. It's like maybe we know about Matthew Perry, but there could be 2 others we don't really know about, you know.
Gaza and Ukraine. Gaza and Ukraine.
Well, that's a different thing over there. But yeah, that's a ritual sacrifice that's happening over there as well. I would agree.
I'm not playing out of the Bible, pretty much.
Yeah, to go back to astrology, the tetrade of blood moons, and finish that story about the murder that happened here where I live. But at this same time, it was the United Nations like General Assembly at the beginning of that blood moon, and Putin traveled there and he declared Russia's intervention into ISIS, the war on terror, and into Syria. And historically, well, I'm not going to get into the geopolitics of it all, but for those that follow it and understand it, it's more than coincidence that it happened like that. Ooh, loving that background, Sarah.
I made a bunch of different ones, and I gotta some of the ones I made previously, I gotta just turn them into like a minute, because I took some still shots of like interpretations of 0 point energy, and I tried to animate it to give it like that visuals to use as background. So, but this is your little sacred geometry one.
It's well done.
Thanks.
But yeah, there's specific occult holidays and Sabbats and stuff that have a lot to do with the moon cycle, the lunar cycle, and they do it with the specific rituals. We all heard of the one, like the cremation of care, right? The Bohemian Grove one. We've all heard about that one. And what they're doing there, what they're practicing in that specific kind of ritual is something called a reverse absolution ritual. If you look into it. So that's why it's called the cremation of care. So what they're doing is they're pretty much like, they know what they're going to have to do, and they're just transmuting that care. And so like natural law does not affect them, or the universal principles, or karma, whatever you want to call it. So it's a way of like transmuting karma in their mind, and they burn an effigy and all that. And, this is what the rulers do. They love doing stuff like this, right? Because it has an effect.
In your opinion, do you feel? Sorry, really quick. In your opinion, do you feel like it's their way of trying to bring balance to the universal energy?
Maybe in their sick, twisted ideology, yeah, maybe they think they're doing something. In their mind, what they're doing is completely right. Right. So,
where do you feel like that originates from?
Go ahead, Cage.
I wasn't going to say anything. I think Sarah was trying to say something.
Actually, no, yeah. Why did you answer that? Yeah, or say what you were going to say. Sorry.
Well, I was done. I was waiting for the
response. I meant Notch. Sorry.
No, I mean, I thought that was a good question. Like, like you were asking Sarah to Cage that do you think the bad guys, are trying to bring like a balance in their mind? Obviously, people, when they do things, they tend to justify what they do, But as far as I see it, it's like, well, there's the side of good, so there must be a side of bad, and so you could just gotta, make your decisions, and they need to balance each other out. So this is like the kind of the Yakim and Boaz, like the black and white kind of mentality, right?
Yeah, I responded to that. I said, in their mind, what they're doing is completely right. They're doing what has to be done.
Well, the missing part of the duality is that we're in this third dimensional realm, and the third part being our own individual free wills, and whether as individuals we choose to do good or evil, and that they're either surrendering their free will and judgment that justifies the evil that they do from some evil outside higher dimensional, possibly influence, or they themselves are just corrupt, evil humans. But it's all about your own individual choice of how much good to how much bad you do.
Yes, but again, like it's still going back to their what maybe, I'm not saying I know, but I think what maybe that they could be thinking is that yes, maybe they agree with you. There is free will, but since there is the side of good, and then if a bunch of people choose the side of good, who's going to choose the side of bad? Somebody has to choose the side of bad,
Someone has to play fulfill the role.
And that's the constant conundrum. We constantly have to say there cannot be light without the dark. So what the hell does that mean when it comes to these they and this construct of like this was designed to like withhold or hold us back, or is it just the construct of polarity, like that didn't exist before? Because there is a heavy influence of this brotherhood is kind of what I've come down to in my research with what the phoenix to the eagle symbolism was, and how that originated from what I'm it connects down to Ra, the sun. So at some point, that creation of this construct of the two polarities, where it has some connection potentially to the Enlil and Enki story, which is connected to other gods and myths about like these brothers who fought and split, and then that created sin, right, and created duality. So, did something exist before? Is there? Or is this cyclical thing something you cannot get out of, and that's just this realm?
Well, I mean, so far as I see is that like as soon as physical reality was created, there was duality. Like physical reality denotes that duality is going to be a part of it. Like you can't take duality out of physical reality, because like it's like having space and having it's like being in a room. You have to have the walls, and then inside there has to be space. Like if it's just all space, right, then you don't have physical reality. So yeah, you need limitation, like in terms of frequency, in order to create this duality. So like all the things that we consider to be like solid and stuff like that is just varying degrees of frequency. Okay, like the intensity. So like light is like very high, and then you get into the more like gross objects, which is like a lower and lower frequency. But like compared to us, we feel it to be solid and stuff like this, scientifically speaking. But as far as like good and evil is concerned, like God, as far as I'm concerned, like the way I perceive it is that has the good and the bad, but the good and the bad must exist in order for free will to exist. Okay, so it's like the hermetic, the principles have to be there. It's like the principles of gender, the principles, the principles of heat and all that kind of stuff. They all manifested all at once. It's like together as creation happened, as far as I see it.
And it's funny because as soon as you said, Nachiketa, when you were saying that nothing is solid, that's one of the ancient hermetists knew that very, very long ago. And then nothing's actually solid; it's all vibrating. Like for example, nothing's actually solid, right? It's just different densities.
It's vibration. Yeah, I mean, it is solid. I mean, we have the word solid, and like some object that we can't push, and then it doesn't bend and stuff like that, we call it solid, and there's different degrees of solid. So these words do have meaning. But on the other hand, like in the metaphysical more like quantum, definitions, and everything is vibration, just like Tesla says, energy, vibration, and frequency.
Yeah, exactly.
But
and the ancients knew this, a long time ago.
It's just cymatics. It's just like there is, it's just harmonics and dissonance, and this is how you categorize good and evil. Like which version of this kind of like geometric shape do you want, or asymmetric, right? Symmetry, asymmetry, and these type of things. So like there's in the yugas, they talk about like Satya Yuga, which is like a long period where everything's like peaceful and such. Like now we're in the age of Kali Yuga, they say Kali Yuga, and then it's like evil prevails and all this kind of stuff. So we put words to these situations, but it's like kind of like the energetics of the times that we're going through. But the advantage is, if you look at it in a very optimistic or positive light, is that when you're born during these times of turmoil, your progression is faster. Your spiritual progression is faster because you're going through more challenges. You're going through more difficulty. So that's the advantage, you could say. But like during the time of peace, that you're going to have more peace, but then spiritual development is going to be slower as well. But go ahead.
So you raise adversity and you get quicker results, really, because you learn through adversity in a way. But absolutely. I remember last time we were speaking, not sure. It was right at the end, and we were talking about how certain beings reinsert themselves into this matrix or simulation or realm, whatever reality that we're in, on purpose, right? In order to help guide other people's life. What was the name for that again? I forget.
Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva.
Bodhisattva.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the name of a beer out of Seattle too. IPA. It's if you are going to have a beer, it's not that.
Some people might call that blasphemous, but whatever,
That's
like
blasphemous. No?
Sorry.
No, I'm not blaming you, Sarah, but like it's like it's like putting Jesus on a beer. It's like Jesus beer, like.
Well, they should have
I'm gonna make a new company.
They should have that picture.
Buddha.
This one, yeah.
That's great.
I'm gonna make a new Allah beer. Just put Allah on it and see how fast I'll get myself killed doing that.
Nobody will be pissed off about that.
No, yeah, the Muslims will. They'll probably find you and kill you, bro. The Muslims don't play with it.
I'm being sarcastic.
Exactly. You're done.
Yeah, but
you can
here's
do
the thing,
some shit like that to Buddhism or Christianity. No one cares, right?
I mean, like, it doesn't bother me in any which way because, like, whatever. Like, I try not to get offended about shit like that. But, like, obviously, like all these things have meaning, and meaning should have a significance in one's life. And if everything gets kind of watered down, then nothing really means anything this way or another. So it's like up to the individual. That's what sacred comes down to. It's up to you to hold what is sacred. Like whatever else other people do, it has no matter to you at the end of the day. But I kind of want to go back to this discussions about because Sarah, you brought up the topic about sun worship, and how these people seem to be like really much like entangled with the sun worship. And I would also say like Saturn worship as well. Like that's also very significant in symbology, right? So in my opinion, these are very like astrologically based as well. Like I'm a flat earther, and like when I look at the constellation stuff, we're not like spinning in space. I'm not here to convince people that the Earth is flat. It's not part of the discussion. But what I'm getting at is that like these astrology, right, astrotheology, right, these things have been part of like the Bible and many other cultures for a very long time. Actually, and like even the Bible has like an astrotheological like component to it, in the stories. It's like engraved or intertwined into the stories, so it's like a very allegorical that way.
Excellent conversation. I'm really glad that all you guys are together. BurnEye, by the way, guys, is I think back and forth on a phone call at the moment, so he'll be back with us in just a moment. But yeah, super glad you popped in, and same thing with you, Cage. So awesome. Thank you guys.
Yeah, happy to be here, and I've been meaning to come by and then say hello, but just haven't had that opportunity. But now I'm here.
I had a strike, so this is actually my first live since I was going to try to do it sooner, I think is what I indicated to you, and it just like wasn't working out time wise and trying to get everything put together, you know. But I had messaged you today about doing an interview, and then obviously if you guys, some people from BurnEye's channel don't know this, but doing a debate series, and it's going to be really interesting, I think, because we're going to try to keep it kind of a little bit altered. Like, I'm not trying to do super traditional or hardcore, nor am I trying to stir up mad drama. Trying to kind of have an open-ended opinion, and so we're also going to introduce something called the Delphi method for like a prepared questionnaire to a set of panels, speak people, and then they can collaborate together sort of at the end, again, in that open panel sense. So yeah, anyway.
Absolutely. So
yeah, keep going.
My apologies. I'm just on the phone. I'll be back in 1 minute.
You're good. Thank you. I let everybody know, BurnEye. Thank you. Go ahead,
Sarah.
Yeah, Notch.
No, I was just gonna say that, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, that the West basically, like, I think there used to be like a sun and moon worship like together, you know, and then it became kind of separated in history, and the West took the sun and the East took the moon, and like, you know, from what I've read, and I'm not sure how accurate this is, and somebody can correct me on this, but like, when the Allah, like in the Middle East, they used to worship multiple gods, just the same as in India and in Greece, and you know, in Rome, and Allah was the king of the gods, right? But then when they became monotheistic, they just took Allah and claimed that Allah to be the only God, right? And then, but the Allah in the past, when it was the king of the gods, was represented by the moon, okay? And then in the West is, you know, kind of like the sun, you know, with Mitra, and you know, Jesus also is very much associated with the sun. So there seems to be some kind of separation that has occurred with the moon and the sun that happened sometime in the past to maybe separate people. I don't know exactly what happened, but another kind of like a divide and conquer tactic. So I think that's part of the thing that's kind of that is going on.
So then, you know, in talking about the need for dark and light, and you just saying that at some point there was potentially like something presented to create this division, like what do you mean by like who did that? Or, and I you know, when I say who, was it just energy? Was it, you know, an event? How would you describe that?
Yeah, it's difficult to say exactly who was involved, you know, because like you know, like and this is just maybe like my insanity, but like I think like J.R.R. Tolkien's, like, you know, like the Middle Earth was like more of a documentary than a fiction. So there was like, you know, like there was like all these like weird creatures and, you know, all kinds of weird shit that was happening in the past, and we're trying to bury all of that, you know, like they are but so like what we are experiencing now is like probably hundreds, if not at least 1,000 years of actual like under the rulership of this dark force that has already taken over a long time ago, and they've been gaslighting, they've been recycling, and, you know, and we are like in a state of amnesia and being reborn and trying to rediscover and trying to put the pieces back together, and then, you know, we spend our whole lives to, you know, put the pieces back together and write it into books. So they can't, you know, micromanage all those kind of things, you know, we're like that way, but they can definitely shorten our lives, make our lives difficult, you know, keep technology away from us, you know, so we have to keep our, you know, heads on the ground and then just be in this like a survival mode. so
and
they
the
can harvest our
disconnected
energy.
materials, like we've talked about that, like the building materials that disconnect us from being able to ground, our clothing, the rubber shoe thing. Yeah.
Well, it is all energy harvesting. That's what naturally is. It is, and people use these occult forces. Like pretty much, it's like a battery. The Matrix kind of nailed it with like the whole kind of battery allegory. It is. It's emotional energy. Emotion is just energy in motion. And so there's someone feeding off of that. Yeah, it's being fed off.
That's why I was earlier mentioning, like, is there this other dimensionally like force entities that are impacting those that choose to do evil in the dark here, and that I 100% agree in the aspect of J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle Earth being more of like history, and the fact that there was giants in those days. There was the Young Adrias event that supposedly, same time correlation as Atlantis, but that modern science documents. There's the megafauna of giant beavers, giant rats, giant everything, dinosaurs, reptiles, dragons, whatever, just giant everything. So why not also giant humans? And that there was, probably all sorts of different humanoids, elves, dwarves, little people, all the stories that we hear, the legends, most likely true.
Yeah, absolutely. All kinds of weird creatures, headless creatures, like dog head creatures, these creatures like with 1 foot that's bouncing around, giants and stuff like this, as some kind of like
Well, I can attest to the giants because I'm a direct descendant. That's my joke. Because I don't know if I've told you this, I'm quite tall.
That's how tall are you, Sarah?
Ain't no Sasquatch, though, are you, girl?
Might be my cousin. I'm not sure. I'm 6'1".
So I'm 6'1" too, but I encountered they're scary. Sorry.
That is pretty tall. 6'1".
That's right. I don't know. That makes me stronger because I'm tall.
Don't wear high heels. Jeez.
I don't. I'm pretty much barefoot all the time. Now I am, at least, I should say. And like I'm very obsessed. I educate everybody now on gait and uneven footing, like utilizing, rocks and uneven steps to navigate when you're barefoot, partly to like desensitize your feet, but also because of the fact it's a pressure point aspect, right? It's reflexology, which ends up hitting all these points for your organs. For me, it's breaking up stagnation, right? Moving the chi. And I was telling you I'm going to be doing some classes, so I'll be actually integrated into that Eastern medicine and the reflexology part of it in my courses.
Awesome. Sounds great. So, like, where we are now, so far as I'm concerned, is that like we've been basically fed. We've been treated like mushrooms, kept in the dark, fed bullshit, right? And then they fucked they basically screwed around with us about like the shape of the earth, like the history, politics, money, everything that you think that and I'm not talking about the people here in the panel or people listening, because I think we are more
general
or less like
population.
Yeah, the general public has been, and we were also indoctrinated ourselves. I mean, I can attest for myself, like that. I grew up in the Western education system. I went to university, and I believed in the everything that they told me until I had to do my own research and found out that it was all lies, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And I think in order to exist, right, like we're going back to like how you're saying everything, it needs to have a certain structure, like the polarity or the up and the down. Like it kind of ties back into this, because you have to have a program, a subconscious program, in order to, it's like as within, so without kind of thing. So it's all generated within yourself, and it's being projected outside of yourself before you even are able to physically see it. And so you need to have a program in order to be in this reality, Malkuth as they call it, and the Jews call it Malkuth, whatever. So in order to, so you have to reprogram yourself, your subconscious mind. Like no matter what, you're always going to be programmed. So it's just a matter of, are you going to program yourself, or put like a filter over it, or are you going to allow someone else to do it for you? That's like the only option you have.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, now that Bernie's back, maybe you guys should, especially maybe like with astrology connection, because I feel like I know you obviously have a really good deep understanding of general history but like religion specifically, but astrology too. Am I right on that? Not maybe as much.
I mean, I dabbled a little bit in many different categories, so I would not consider myself an expert in any one category. Astrology is a very deep field, and I think you mentioned something in the chat about human design as well. Did you type something about human design? So
I
human
did.
design is another.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like another astrological thing, right? That the Canadian guy, Ooh Ra Ra or something, he came up with, but it's more of a recent thing, right? But I think there's truth in all these systems. I think it's really open to interpretations as well. So I don't know, like, what do you want to talk about exactly?
Well, we were part of the discussion of what and Bernie's experiences with alchemy. So we are talking a lot about organic alchemy, and the connection with astrology is kind of what we're getting at. So like you coming in and talking about the eclipse, like you might have heard, but Bernie was talking about like he creates his own monoatomic gold, and he was talking about how like actually the development of this increases twofolds with the full moon. Here, let me pull him full screen real quick just to show off and a lot of Bernie's channel has already seen a lot of this, so a little bit of a repeat on that, but you can handle it.
This is actually a mixture of 4 different monoatomic elements: zinc, silver, gold, and copper, all in the pure white monoatomic state in this one. And then I've also been able to create the pure purple gold silver combination. It was white, and then I put it in the sun, and it turned purple. And it would be like a plasmid or triatomic, something like that. But yeah. So to connect it,
so do you consume them?
The sun, the moon, and
do you consume?
I don't recommend anybody to consume the actual metal elements themselves. The water, though, if made properly, I make my own colloidal silver water, but it's also colloidal gold, copper, zinc, silver water that I've been drinking myself and experimenting on plants for over 8 or 9 years with now. But if you use the wrong type, like the green or blue diatomic oxidized materials, or the red state, or just any of the nanostates except for the white pure single atom, you risk getting heavy metal poisoning and accumulating heavy metals within you quite quickly and at a very toxic rate. So I do not suggest anybody try it if you don't know what you're doing, because you'll probably just poison yourself.
It turned blue. But you have
it's like in alchemy, it's called spagyrics, right? And specific plants that they're taught, you're taught to extract the essence of the plant, but it's not just making a simple tincture, right? It's like you're mentally supposed to be implanting or imprinting something onto them in order for it to formulate chemically in a different way.
You're casting the spell on it, so the imprint of the spell as you create.
Did you show when you did the monoatomics with the plants? Did you do that during one of the lives where you showed that, or did you do a separate video on that? I was gonna see if I could find it.
I've done a few, but I need to do specific video on it. It's like update one sort of thing. I don't really know where what to suggest.
You have a lot of videos. It might take me a while to try to find that one.
Right. So, but yeah, once again, just the fire, water, air, earth. Notice fire going up and air going up. That's because it's a gas and a plasma. They both go up in our realm, and then the water being liquid and earth being solid going down as they go down in our realm.
It also goes into the principle of gender in Hermetic. The upward things are masculine principles, or it'd be like left hemisphere brain, left hemispheric, and water is a feminine or like a right dominant side of the brain energy to it. It's also fire and air are ruled over by like the masculine principle, the sun, and you could say like water and earth are ruled over the moon, by the moon, or the feminine aspect. That's why they call it Mother Earth, stuff like that, right?
Right. See, the blue guy, he's not taking monoatomic or colloidal. He's taking diatomic, and it's oxidized, and he's poisoning himself, and he's going to die of heavy metal poisoning probably pretty soon if he's blue and colored up. He needs to stop.
True alchemy, the physical alchemy is only supposed to be, for example, in spagyrics and alchemy, different plants are ruled over by different planets, So it's all astrologically aligned, and you can use specific things at certain times and stuff like that, or create them at specific times. But it's a part of the Tria Prima in alchemy. The actual creation of these things, they're not even supposed to be, you don't necessarily need to consume them. I would not consume any of it, really, but it's just, it's there to physically do something. Now you're physically putting something into this reality. So you have the Tria Prima, you have thought, emotion, and action. Now this is the action. Now you're creating this thought form, and you're creating it in a structure that is now in this realm. So therefore, it holds a power and effect. It's consecrated, if you want to call it that. So this is all allegorical. Yeah.
Right, and what I do, that's why I do the agricultural alchemy experiments and use the waters on the garden, and I will be doing a follow-up video showing, because I've taken pictures, time-lapse pictures essentially throughout the whole summer this year on the gardens of where I used the different types of waters and stuff like that. And last year's results where I had the 6-foot lettuce plant, and that I had actually put some of the purple monoatomic or triatomic gold material at the root base of it. So it's used probably a gram of gold, so it was an expensive lettuce, but nonetheless it was gigantic and crazy. So but the water is reusable, and I got some really big vegetables this year too, and it's gonna be quite awesome to show off.
And I've done experiments personally because I am a grower, and so I've done exact same clones, exact same environment, everything. And just mentally doing something to the water actually has a great effect on it. Like I had them side by side. I showed them before.
Too that
one of the plants was tiny. The other one was like 3-4 feet in a tiny cup. It was crazy. Like the difference was insane. And so you don't really need to put anything in there. So I'm saying maybe these things, like with this gold, maybe it's like all about like a subconscious program, right? So the fact that you went through this process and you're putting it in and you expect there to be a result, the possibility opens up and therefore you get the result. So maybe you don't even need anything. You can just mentally do it. It's all through the mind. There's nothing outside of yourself, really. It's like a program. It's like this is how rituals and churches and mass and that's how it all works.
What if we all started practicing manifestation?
Yeah, it's all a program.
I would hope everybody is manifesting every day and
somewhat together. Sorry, I mean it's like an experiment. Like And what if we
This
did it
is a
during
great
the full moon? And what if we did it during the eclipse to see the differences? You know, if this is such a possibility. And can you answer that
still
question
get-
a little, Bernie, about oxygenating the water? I'm pretty sure, I have a feeling Slim is referencing to your process with creating the actual ore mist.
So yes, in my electrolysis, it's oxygenating off the the anode side produces oxygen, I believe. It might also be on the cathode side, but for the water I'm using in the agricultural experiments, I have to flush the original water 9 times first to get the salt out, and then I let the water sit to absorb some of the monoatomics to turn it into the dissolved colloidals within the water. And I don't oxygenate that yet, but I'm going to be doing experiments with that as well as with more precise pH and adjusting pHs as well next year.
Excellent.
There's a kind of a belief, that people harvest like herbs and stuff during the full moon because they're like the juiciest during that time. So the full moon, maybe contrary to the popular belief, is that the full moonlight and sunlight are very different. Like moonlight is cooler, sunlight is hot. Sunlight dries, moonlight actually putrefies, right? So this putrefaction process for the plant makes them more brings out the essence of the plant. So when you do harvesting during the full moon, you get the best out of the herbs, and that's why they do it during that time. And in Nepal, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's why they have it's something called the Old Farmer's Almanac. You can search it up, right? This is why they have the harvest moon.
They still have it. It's still something that you can actually reference.
It's still used. I'm just backing up what Nat you're saying. Sorry for
yeah. Sorry.
100%. And just to add to all of that, I have a flower, like an indoor flower. It's a tropical plant that we grow indoors here. Like in my house, I've got one. It's called Queen of the Night, and it usually only flowers one night out of the year. This year, it flowered 2 nights out of the year, but it grows this giant blossom, and it opens just for one night and one full night each time. And I actually noticed this year when it did its second bloom, and it did it actually this September. And it did it on the September full moon, and then then I looked back, and it's like at the picture of the one earlier in the year, and it was also on the July full moon. So it's like the plants are doing its flowering literally on the lunar cycle as well, to the lunar light. So quite fascinating how nature works.
Well, I mean, we're also connected to that. I mean, these astrological, planet frequencies, particularly the moon, has an effect on people and humanity. That's why they call it lunacy, right? Because it's connected to lunar. It's madness, right? There's more violence that happens during the full moon than not. So there's a correlation there.
We were bringing it up earlier too, and just look at the word mooneye or moneye. It's money. It has a moon.
Well,
right?
Yeah.
In a way.
Well, I don't know if I would
currency.
say
It's called currency for a reason, right? Because a current is also related to water, and like you said, the moon has an effect. The moon has a direct effect on water, the ebb and flow, everything, the tides, and what are we mostly made out of? Water. So therefore, it has an effect on us.
Yeah, but you could also interpret money or mon-eye as one eye, like monopoly, like one, like mon-eye.
One eye. You could interpret it that way also, yeah. But the moon does have an effect on the current, right? The ebb and flow and the water. It's called currency for a reason. That's why I connected the two.
Yeah, the tide, right?
Yeah,
right. That's actually a good point.
Yeah. It gets deep. They love hiding this shit in the language. Really, it's all encoded within the words we speak. It's spelling for a reason. Which goes back to the original thing, we were watching on that woman presented, and to that book that I put in the. I'm gonna post a link to that book again in the private if anyone's interested into it. But it's about word magic and the occult definitions of words. Put in the private. Explains it a lot better than I can.
Sorry, what's that top language from? For phonetics, I mean.
Because every letter is a sigil. You combine these sigils together and you create a reality.
When they say celestial, what does that mean, Bernie? Like, what does that? Where does that come from?
You're muted, by the way. I don't know if you noticed you're muted.
Oh, yeah, you're muted, Bernie. Can't hear you, Bernie.
Oh, my bad. Thank you. So I'm not actually sure where I got this reference from, but yeah, fascinating. Like, could this be the Enochian angel language if it's celestial or star alien? I'm not sure, but the fact that they are all sigils, right? That blows my mind. And also that they call the alchemical symbolic language Illuminati cipher. That's also pretty interesting. But yeah, gonna have to look into this a lot more because
the Masonic. Yeah, I've gone into cryptology a little bit. The fucking the Masonic cipher is called it's also called a pig cipher. You can search that up too. Yeah, as soon as I seen that, we pulled out. I thought about Enochian, like John Dee and Kelly and that, and how they created that language. This is where 007 comes from. That whole movie franchise. They're working with the Queen. They're deep into astrology, astrotheology, all that kind of stuff. And they made decisions for the most powerful, empire at the time.
Look at this. The alphabet of daggers is Latin. But this is actually looking pretty Sumerian. Like, this looks Sumerian runic. They're calling it language of daggers, and that it's Latin. So, is Sumerian actually Latin?
Okay, look what the writing is below it. It says something about Aleister Crowley. So you got this in connection. This is obviously somebody was trying to connect a bunch of different sigils.
Oh, the ciphers of
and ciphers.
Yeah. Crowley. I guess that was the book that this is taken from. Sigils. So, yeah, the ciphers of Alice. Huh. Well, it just goes to show others take this very serious since it goes deep. We got Enochian, we got Latin that's looking Sumerian, we've got Illuminati cipher that is actually the alchemical pictographic language, talismanic, sigil, like what? The Ban rune of Honorius? What? Celestial scripts. Passing the river script.
No idea the context of this.
The talismanic magic, it's a hermetic or alchemical thing. It comes from the Picatrix, which I think I shared to Nachiketa a while ago. I don't know if you looked into it, but yeah, it has to do with this astrology thing and these sigils that create a specific language. But these are magically charged sigils. They have an effect. But even our natural language does that we're speaking right now. It's not really a natural language.
Yeah, so their language is so if you're speaking Enochian, these angelic language, or possibly even Latin, they're full cymatic, full charged words, vowels, sounds, and spells that you are casting and projecting, and
so just like what we're doing right now, as we say it, we're doing it too. That's a funny thing, it's not our language, it's It's part of our program. Yeah, but maybe some of these languages actually have like an effect on this dimension, and maybe like it comes from above and different dimensions, and somehow has an effect here.
Yeah, like
at least that's their belief.
Higher technology, oh man, just possibilities. Something else. Potential higher language of demigods and gods, like angels and demons, portal languages. I don't even know.
I think it'd be like the intent, mostly the intent, and like the individual's program that's going into it, whoever created it. Like, what if you created your own language? You could easily do that. And then there's stuff like that within your own confine for a specific purpose. That's probably how someone had to create it. Like, why did they create it? And maybe having other people look into it or use it increases its effect.
This Walter Russell diagram always blows my mind. It's both a periodic table and what you see when you enter in a cathedral and all the great archways.
Doesn't he also connect this to the octaves? Yeah, it's the 6 octave. So like the connection, like you said, with design, but the actual frequency, right?
See, it always has that main point of duality, though, right? So you got the female, or you have the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere.
Absolutely.
This one, they have a
huge part of Walter Russell's work.
And then look at that inhalation, exhalation. Just going back, there you go, as the circuit board example.
This is just a cathedral. That's the blueprints of a cathedral. Looks like a computer processor of some sort.
Looks like a turbine setup. There is ruins, I wonder if you've ever seen them, Notch, in India, of something that looks super similar to a turbine. They're big columns in one of the temples, and the way not cross sections, but like just these chunks of the way they did the stone come out have that sort of circuitry or gear-like look, but it's like layer like throughout the entire column. And then anyway, and they compared it to a turbine. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Praveen Mohan, I believe, has worked on awesome stuff.
Yeah, I follow that guy as well. Like, he goes into like the mysteries of these temples. Quite fascinating, right? Like, I mean, that's just true with any kind of ancient structures, like the Giza pyramids and Angkor La. The temples here, like, we don't really know how they were built, like it must have used some kind of high technology. They have a temple that was like completely carved out from like rock, like, and it was carved out from top bottom. I've been wanting to go visit, but like it's maybe I might do so this winter, but like it's just like rock, and then they just kind of like 3D I don't know, they did something where it's just like top down everything. It's crazy how they made these temples and statues.
It's hard to tell if they like poured it in, right? The geopolymer kind of concept too, or if they carved it out, because you see that kind of mix.
They carved it out from a single rock, like it was rock, and then they just like complete. It's like everything was just completely carved out from there. So How they did it, what technology they used, we don't really know, but it's quite precise. Like the kind of details that you can tell, like, you're not going to have a guy chiseling at like granite and being able to get these kind of details. It's just not possible, and that's like, if you do any kind of research with like, any of the statues that were created that were attributed to these like Renaissance people, I mean, they had like these like marbles, that are very like wafer thin, collars and shit like this, and netting, and they look like they have silk on top of them. It's
Yeah.
crazy type of it's they have paintings that are like 2 micron thick, that is very like vivid and very colorful, but there's no brush mark on them. Like how they were. It's like a print.
Wow. I didn't know that there was no brush.
Exactly. 100%.
Okay, we're gonna have to do an episode
so many
on that.
parts.
We came from high technology to whatever, like the dark ages, and then we're trying to regain that technology back. But we've rebuilt society in their image now. So everything that they they give us computers, yes, they give us AI, but that's yesterday's stuff for them. They're only giving us stuff that is no longer of use for them. Right? This internet, it's valuable to us because we can connect, we can communicate, we can, do stuff with each other, whatever. Like, this is great. And we didn't have that, in the known history of things, but they only give it to us because they don't really need it anymore. Right?
It's controlling. It's that whole thing that it was supposedly is like a book that our modern leaders have like taken a footnote from, and somebody's going to be able to say this in the chat, but the whole like control the healthcare system, control the people, control the food, control the people. There's like there's a doctrine that was written. It's by, I think it's a Freemason, and name right now, but regardless, at some point that, because like if there's any possibility that this all can be done with our minds, and that does back up the possibility of being a breatharian, and the fact that we don't even need any of this to exist, and what is technology without needing those things, especially without needing to go to space, if that's not what we're told what it is exactly, if it's some other setup.
Yeah, like I don't believe in space in a traditional sense, but there could be like interdimensional worlds. They talk about different locus. There are like 7 layers of locus, and even below there could be 7 layers. So there could be different dimensions. There could be other lands, like extra territories that are out there that is of existence. So I lean that way a little bit more. But like I like this quote by, I think it was Carl Sagan, who said that high technology is indistinguishable from magic, right? Whatever that we call like quote unquote magic, it's like no different from really high technology. Okay, so magic exists and has existed throughout history. We may not be able to articulate or know how it's working. It's just like we may not know the inner workings of a computer, but the computer is quite magical. The internet is quite magical. We use it, we utilize it for our own purposes, but and we may not know the inner workings of it exactly, but it exists, and magic exists just the same,
Yeah, that's actually, I do a hashtag all the
And
time with my series of like alt health topics. I'll put, do you believe in magic, next to like 0 point energy, because to me that's part of it. Sort of like, this is why I'll ask people all the time, like, what does the placebo effect mean to you?
It's
all right, so
the power of your mind.
electrical and electronic circuit symbols. I'm just gonna slowly peruse over this, and
yes, thank you.
Everybody make their own judgment on why they're identical to sigils and seals of alchemy.
Or even Solomonic,
Please.
remember Solomonic sigils? Because it's done purposefully. It's all through electromagnetic fields and influences.
Slow jazz while BurnEye scrolls through circuit board light.
Circuit board Earth and circuit board Alchemy and circuit board Solomon's Temple and
Chill vibes. All right here, all right now.
ancient painting.
Sorry, I just realized it got real wild.
There we
And
go.
I'm like, what's
Now
going
find
on?
those electrical circuits today. I'm quiet because my mind is just blown. Like,
This has been a great night, great conversation. I'm glad that it ended up down this pathway. That really looks to me, a lot of that swirly pattern that some of that's up towards the top. I mean, definitely looks like wiring, but also looks like I feel like, if I'm saying this correctly, like a little bit of the Hindu language, like the. I guess I would need to pull some of that up to be able to compare right next to it, but dang, that really does look like the wiring setup. It's amazing. The circuitry. That one looks like a light bulb.
We are electric beings, we live in an electric universe. So, I mean, and it has its own science to that, like how the movement of electricity, right? And even the human behavior, they were equating like the way people think and actually behave is quite electric, like how the banking and the money systems actually work is similar to like how conductors, generators and, a flow of electricity and how that works as well. Like that they talk about this in the silent wars for quiet, what is it called? Quiet wars for silent something. I forgot exactly I have to
silent weapons
that,
for quiet wars. Yeah.
Thank you. Silent weapons for quiet wars. They talked about this in there as well, about like how they actually control humanity through basically an understanding of like the circuitry of electricity. And yeah, I concur that like a lot of these temples and they look like computer chips. Maybe they're on ley lines as well, so where there's powerful energies are located. So
And that was something I was showing that BurnEye's channel knows very well. But there's a content creator, Michelle Gibson, and she does a series called Circuit Board Earth, and that they can use the ley line connection with. What if that has something to do with some sort of energetic capability with that alignment, right? And that she's making a lot of these connections with certain cities and the way they're laid out. and then comparing it, like even aerial overlays of what that looks like compared to circuit boards.
Yeah, absolutely. I think she does fantastic research, you know.
I agree. Shout out to Michelle Gibson.
Love Michelle. I gotta get Michelle Gibson back on. Yeah, epic stuff. Alrighty.
What time is it over there?
I had in there, but
it's
1:20
midnight
a.m. where I am.
12:20 here. And what time is it for you in India? Cage is in Ontario.
It is 12:50 over here in PM in the afternoon.
In the afternoon, so we're pretty much 12 hours apart. Interesting.
Yep.
Just after lunch. Nice.
That's good to know. That makes that easy. That's when I schedule future things.
Oh,
I realized too.
Yeah.
You guys, that's
Right now. That's cool.
What's up, Bernie?
I'm like, am I 13 or am I 11 hours difference? But it's 12 for 12 for you two. That's perfect.
11.
Well, it's like 12 and a half hours
Exactly.
probably, because it's like midnight over there, and it's 12:50 over here. So India is like a half an hour off from everybody else. You know.
Okay.
Fascinating that they do that.
Yeah, and Nepal's even worse. Nepal's like 45 minutes different from everybody else. They just want to be slightly different. They just want to, have their own time. So like, it was weird. Like when I went from Tibet, because like Tibet and China, they have one time zone that is based on Beijing, right? So it's like when I crossed border from Tibet to Nepal, I had to like get out of there because it was like 5:00 p.m. In Tibet side, and the borders closed after that time, so I had to like rush out of there. But as soon as I crossed border, I think it was like 12 or 1 p.m. Like it's like 4 or 5 hours difference just crossing the bridge.
That's so insane, right? Like, just weird. And like between artificial and natural, and then like how they apply to our reality, it's so strange. Like the worst is when they try to do force on us this like daylight savings shit, like just your entire schedule, sleep biological schedule, as well as your animals. Like they claim it's for farmers. It messes with the farm animals more than anything else in a negative way. It's so stupid.
Well, I mean, it's stupid deliberately. I mean, just like everything else they do, like in the guise of helping out society or making things better. Actually, they just make everything worse. But that's just done deliberately. Like like in politics, it's like, well, we were trying to help out, but like we had some incompetent people, and things just got messed up. But the reality is, they purposely mess things up. You got to understand their game. I mean, that's how they operate. These people from the very top, they know exactly what they're doing. They're not stupid. They know how to manipulate. They know how to move things around. And then they have like the middlemen who are like, part of the program, and they're just going to tell you whatever they've been told to tell you. Right. And then in their minds, maybe that, oh, yes, we're not responsible. We're not accountable. We're not competent. And, there's something messed up that's going on. But like, it's like lockstep. They're taking you down a certain path that they want you to take you down on.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking about
dialect.
you. Yeah. I'm talking about you generically.
Yeah, it's Hegelian dialect or order out of chaos.
the manipulation of trying to get us to surrender our free will, our choice of what we're doing, and just become one of the cogs in the machine, a drone, one that doesn't think, and just, you're using your free will, surrendering your free will to whatever the mass or their projection or goals are. And like you're stating, the obvious, what's become obvious to any of us that like do our research, look into it, and have gone, behind the veil to see what's actually there. It's ridiculous, right?
It's diabolical. I mean, and they gaslight you, and so their methodology is to, like, basically have you go against all your senses, what your experience is, what this reality is, and they dictate to you what this reality is. And there's going to be they're going to be like diametrically opposed to each other, like what you actually think, how you actually feel, how actually things are, and they impose something very different. And then, because they impose this ideology on you and program you over and over time, it's like a kind of a war of attrition. Like, people tend to just give up over a long period of time because they've just been, like, conditioned over and over again until they're at a point. It's like, okay, yes, you're right. Like, the reality is not the way I sense it. The reality is not the way I think about it, and the reality is not the way I feel about it. You're right. I'm just going to give up and give you what you want, and then you essentially surrender yourself to that.
100%. And that this grand reset there, it was the most diabolical plan that they've come up with. And thank God for humanity that the majority of individual souls, conscious souls on this planet, did the opposite and got more in touch with themselves, and have resisted going back into being these mindless drones, these sheep, the cog in the machine. And pretty much why we're heading into this precipice right now of what the fuck's gonna happen to society. Like, it's interesting time to be alive.
Exactly. And I'll post Cage's channel in the chat for everybody. And just an FYI, Nash does not have a channel currently, is potentially discussing one, and hopefully you'll see him over on my channel. But he does go on to quite a few panels throughout the community, so you might catch him. And sometimes the nice fresh breath air amongst the chaos, the other kind of chaos, not the good chaos crew.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just try to contribute where I can, right? But there are other people contribute in their own way, and perhaps in their own mind that they're contributing in a good way. I don't know. At the end of the day, like, it's up to the individual to decide, what's working for them and what's not. But we're here to discuss ideas, right? First and foremost, at least that's my prerogative. And I would agree with you. Things are going a little bit sideways, and I would say, in my assessment, that things are going to have to get worse before they get better.
I feel though that that's not like
I do agree with that. But
sorry,
what we all have to do and ensure and be our active role is to make sure humanity stops killing itself, don't give in to that divide and conquer, and protest this increasing war narrative and killing of each other. The last thing anybody truly wants or needs is World War III breaking out.
I don't think what there is that it's there for the distraction of whatever else is going on. It's kind of like what we're watching right now, or it is like what we're watching right now is just to push the narrative so that it is actually manifested from our own observation. But I'm not denying that there isn't potentially a little bit worse to come. I just do feel like we've seen actually some of the worst of it. I mean, there's some pretty gruesome things going on overall, like when you really look into the deep and what's gone on in the last 100 years. But I feel like
more just the darker has to come to light. That more of it has to be exposed to like the overall society and accepted, and just like, oh my God, this was the reality, is the reality. Now let's deal with it.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean though that that's everlasting peace or utopia. And what does that exactly mean again for everybody? Is that the same? Is that are we necessarily going to be coming to some kind of collective happiness? And that doesn't quite resonate. But I am not getting the vibe right now that things are going to get, I feel like, as bad as it's feeling. And it might be my cup overflowing, but somebody wanted to up and pick up what's spilling over.
No, I mean, I think for the most part, we all want the same thing, right? Like we want peace, and as much as we can, bring that upon humanity, right? Like, and there are moments where people can be living, peacefully, but like the way I see how manipulation is working, and the way I see how they are operating, they can't just bring dystopia down on people like all at once in a total lock. It have to go back and forth. It's like, you bend the metal back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until you break it. So this is kind of their tactic. It's a pendulum swing of like, you go to the Democratic side, you go to the Republic side, you go, back and forth. You have this communist and the capitalist, and you go back and forth, which system is better? Oh, neither system. Is the Hegelian dialectic, right? And then they're going to offer you a solution. But in order for them to like drag humanity to there, they have to give the worst part of humanity to themselves, which is war, famine, if you are, I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit dark in this way, but I can imagine how bad humanity can get. Like people can get quite nasty with one another, and we have examples of that. We know what they are capable of. We know what they do. So for them, it's nothing. Like that's what they've been conditioned to do with their MK Ultra or SRAs, satanic ritual abuse and stuff. It's a conditioning. It's the creation of the care. It's putting them into a position where they have no feelings about it anymore. They have no conscience about it. It's just the end justifies the means. It's completely robotic and psychotic, however the way you want to put it. So with that, that's where like say, in the Inquisition type of stuff start to come in, without being too graphic, right? And like people over time, it's like, well, oh my gosh, I don't want to be like, how can you have love, or how can you have freedom of religion and free thought if it's forced down upon people's throat? And intelligent people can understand the difference. Okay. Like other people where it's just like, okay, I just want to survive and I don't want to be living in pain, so I'm just going to accept whatever doctrine, whatever dogma that you give to me. And that's been happening for a long time. Now there's going to be a split because like there are going to be people who are not going to be afraid to die, and they're not afraid to suffer, and they say, well, I'm going to do what is right for the sake of doing what's right, and I'm going to die anyway, logically speaking, so I might as well die on the side of being right and correct, and I'm going to live my life accordingly to that. Otherwise I'm going to have to be a fucking slave for the rest of my life, and I don't want to do that either, right? To the system.
Yeah, that doesn't feel right. I know I'm here to contest exactly what you're talking about. I mean, not contest what you're saying, like I'm alongside with that, but just like to challenge this narrative and the polarity thing and being a slave on all constructs. Because I always talk about that idea with Neo in the Matrix. Like at the end of it, Neo's still answering to the Oracle. He might have gotten out of the Matrix, but he's still answering to some other creator, some other setup, right?
Yeah, in the Matrix, Neo I mean, that's the thing. Like the oracle is the mother and the architect is the father, and they're working together. And so they have a problem. What was the problem? They have an anomaly, right? So they thought they created like a precise way to deal with humanity, but they just couldn't figure it out. So that's why the oracle had to come, and then it became a cyclical. So it's like a problem that they couldn't solve, so they mitigated, and they mitigated by using oracle and using the oracle to induce Neil to do what it was going to happen. It's like an avalanche. Eventually it was going to happen. So when it does happen, that event does happen, then they know how to deal with it. So it's like you don't lose your whole crop, you lose a part of your crop, and you just accept the fact that that's part of the deal.
So I have to just accept that I will always have to answer to someone.
Well, I would say that you have to. Not you have to. You don't have to do anything. But like in my opinion, I have to be subservient to them, or I have to be subservient to some other force, because we do live in duality. So you do have to make choices. You can't idly go by and think that you're going to be sitting on the fence. At the end of the day, each one of us is going to have to like decide what is and what is correct, and what is good and versus what is evil, and then we have to start to move in the direction that what we believe to be good, right? And then start behaving, thinking, and intending in that direction. Otherwise it does not have any kind of significance for any one of us. It won't manifest in any way. That's my opinion.
And we like your opinion.
No, I mean, like it's not about like or dislike. I mean, like there are people who are gonna hate you for who you are, so I'm not worried about that. Like,
get off my channel. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm teasing. I'm sorry. I'm getting a little punchy. We've been on since 6. I did 3-hour interview with Dom. Some pretty good questions, and I'm gonna be coming up. I would like to do an interview with just you, like I did with him too, and so you'll have like your own questions that I'll let you look at before we do it. But yeah, sorry, I get a little punchy.
No worries. Getting to nearly 7 hours of broadcasting, but like this is the like whether you believe that you chose to come here or not, right? Whether you believe that you chose to come to this reality or not, like God is there, and then God's like, you exist, you come. Okay, we're here, we're existence, and with existence, you have to deal with whatever that is here. Like you're born, this is completely new dimension and new reality for you, but there are laws, universal laws to deal with. They call it dharma, they call it karma, right? And then in the idea of karma yoga, like, yeah, you have a body. Maybe you didn't choose to be born, but guess what? You have a body. With it requires you to drink water and eat food, find shelter, have clothing. And they said this is karma. Is what's needed. It's a Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You need your basic needs to be taken care of, and then the second layer is like social interactions and stuff like this. And the third layer is like education, self-improvement, and the last layer is like really spirituality. You're not going to have spirituality, or very few people can have real spirituality without the basic needs. Okay, it's a normal template for vast majority of people. Where people go wrong is when they go into the indulgences and they get lost or trapped in the vices of life. They call it sin, right? Like gluttony, lust, and all this kind of stuff. Okay, but they are experiences as well. But like just like no different from a drug addict, you can get addicted to many things, including the internet, if you don't have any self-control, because at the end of the day, either your mind is subservient to your will, or your will be subservient to your mind, which can actually be of service to your senses. So if it's like addicted to sex or drugs, then the mind is only thinking in terms of how I'm going to get that next high from whatever, from wherever,
It's that
so
dopamine
that's how the
fixing.
mind
Yeah.
works. Yeah.
Like, there is some truth though too that you can get obsessive about work that might not be considered sinful or indulgent, and it can be excessive and take over. You know, like obsessively.
Workaholics. But that's a coping mechanism as well. Like they know they have to work, and they become just like, okay, I just have to work and just got to be busy, all the time. You know, like an obsessive compulsive without any idea about what they're being busy about. You know, just to be busy. Yes, it's a good like a switch. You switch yourself off and you become like robotic so that you become productive, but you become like a cog in the wheel that way. But you don't ever actualize and alchemize the meaning of life.
100%. Everything you're saying is like hard facts that if you know, well, you're probably living a good life. But if you don't know, you're probably gonna be a sheep led to the slaughter. And well, listen to what he's saying and wake up.
You heard it from Bernie. I like what Bernie's showing here too. Have you seen this comparison with the geometric patterns from inside of churches and the connection with the frequency and semantics? Yeah, it's so cool. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean it's an amazing world that we're really living in. You know, this three-dimensional holographic universe. And there's so much fractal aspect of it, you know, like how Safaggio is actually embedded in all things in nature, right? And
exactly. And the 11th harmonic, right? Because that's kind of correlates, and it's about that. Because if you watch the actual depiction of what harmonics is, and it's like this counterbalance enacting at the same time, right? And just beautifully dancing with each other.
And what's interesting is like
Science Sound episode on that. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying we got to do a full episode of the Science of Sound series that I'm doing specifically on that. And please speak more on the Saffaggios as well.
I mean, there's what is there to speak about other than that? You know, they have a like everything has frequency, right? Like when you look at like colors vibrate in a certain frequency. Sound, like when we talk about like resonant sounds, like 432 being the well-known one, but there's like many other ones that have a specific frequency, right? It's the amplitude and you know, like the length and all this kind of stuff combined to create a particular type of energy, right? Why it's like that? It's just designed that way. It is part of the law of like what is being in this kind of a three-dimensional reality. Like they exist as they are, you know. Nobody created it. We might have discovered it, but it was already there in existence. So it's not. It's just science, and you know, it's a science of sound. Like when I look at architecture, I look at architecture in a sense that it's like frozen music. Now, when you look at music and when you like read like really amazing books, good music, great books have both like comedy and tragedy and have like harmonic and dissonant sounds together with it. That's what, you know, you're going to have the flats and you know, the keys, right? And the tones together to create beautiful music together. Like one thing, it kind of becomes like noise that way. You know, so it's like like we're creating something very beautiful, alchemizing both the good and the bad, like what we call the good and evil, right? This is like how we're gonna get out of here together, is to be in understanding of what that force actually is. We can demonize it, we can say that's the devil, but ultimately everything is being allowed to exist by the will of God. Okay, so everything that is here, you have to work with, you know, ground up. So you have to first accept reality for what it is, and not like what you want it to be. You have to see things for what it is first, and then the next question is, what are you going to do with this? How are you going to alchemize? How are you going to utilize this energy?
That's beautiful truth right there.
And that's why I brought up the manifestation
shit into gold, right? The transmutation of everything into gold, and that's there. You know, there's shit. Shit is a part of this realm, and you can pick it up and manifest and work and turn it into whatever you want it to be. Just as plants seeds in that shit, and you'll get food and so much more. But just the alchemy and transmutating anything and everything, whether conscious, energy, emotional, or physical, into the ultimate gold.
Sorry, I don't mean to take away from what you were just saying, BurnEye, because I do feel that there is. So I'm not going to take away. I'm going to actually touch on it. I think there is some heavy connection, which is why in alchemy there was so much discussion of the elements and how it was also directly connected to the planets. And now we understand that this is some potential frequency factor to it. So, but what I wanted to ask Notch was connected to manifestation again, and something I'm kind of curious too, BurnEye, how you feel about it. But just so it's the idea of group prayer, more or less coming together with an direct intention. Are we potentially playing with not black magic, but could bring on that if we tried to do a group manifestation
white magic? Absolutely, a group manifestation, of course. And
so if we're saying we want to manifest abundance for ourselves, now I would say I want to manifest sustainable abundance. Every time I try to manifest or put that intention out there, I am trying to always more or less put that balance factor behind it. But I want to push on this a little bit and play with the idea of us actually doing an experiment with real-time group manifestation. But I don't know what that means, again, because we discussed the complexity of what is utopia for each person. And do you guys practice that at all currently? I am currently trying to work on it. Right now, my mind is I want sustainable land. I want to build a healing and wellness foundation. And you know this because BurnEye does, because I've talked about it a lot, but I'm really starting to work on the visualization process of it and talking about it as that it is coming versus saying maybe, or if this happens, or those factors. And I'm noticing things are starting to present themselves, which BurnEye, your opportunities that have come at your door, if you're not manifesting that, I don't know what you're doing, because it feels like you are, or somebody is.
Oh, we all are. And we're increasing the inertia and the acceleration of building this, and that potentially maybe it's going to be at the Bosnian pyramids where that center is, but that's one thing I'm going to manifest to be at next year for the solstice, and that it's a healing site, it's an energy site, it's an ancient site, and I love what Sam's doing, and let's manifest towards that, and that it's also on the solstice, and that one of his big things there is going to be a mass meditation and manifestation event. So perfect thing to tie in together, I say.
That sounds great.
So
sorry, is what you're saying. I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Notch. I'm kidding. We were supposed to move to Ecuador now, just part of the story on that, which I still feel eventually that's in the picture, but I feel it's a good thing we're not there right now. Anyway, go ahead, Notch.
No, I mean, the name of the game is manifestation, and that's what power means. Power is to bring about, just a generic sense of the word power, whether you are on the side of good or evil, power is that you bring your will into existence. And if you have a lot of money, and you can buy a nice mansion and nice cars, and then all the trinkets that go with it, that's power, right? Another form of that power is that you can utilize that same energy, buy land, and create a community, and create a culture where, you know, people are aligned with like wholesomeness, goodness, you know, maybe a little bit more like a Amish slash like you know, Mennonite type of style, but like it's still a concept, right? They're a manifestation of the same energy in different ways is what I'm getting at. Now, like you've like I've thought about this quite a bit, and I'm sure most everybody else has as well. But what are all the components that goes into a quote unquote a community? What are all the components that goes into a creation of a society, right? And in my opinion, the first and foremost is a clear understanding of what is right and wrong, like morality. Basically, like without that, you're not gonna you like whatever. It doesn't matter. You can bring people, you can attract people. It's not a problem. You can have land, you can have, you know, facilities and all this stuff, and you can bring people together, but not being able to manage them because you don't know how to read people. You don't know how to deal with them. These are problems that one has to contend with.
And that is something I have definitely gone through and contemplated, because part of it was like a look through all this PMA thing, but what it was like, I'm talking about building a community, and something I've always stood behind, at least like one part that I'm pretty strong with, is the board, the idea of having some kind of board that continually fluctuates, though it's not like a stationary group of people. And if you are choosing to come into the community, the agreement is that you're going to participate in that board. That is part of the agreement. You at least have to spend so much time. Your voice has to be heard. We're asking for that, you know, part to be balanced. And then there's obviously like a long structure of dynamics that, you know, but like just the order of processing things outside of in a free society base, because that's like a whole, it's not socialism, right? It's something completely different, because
it's real community. It's like real communism, you know, in a sense. But like you need to have organization, because like if you go into the concept of like anarchy, like everybody's their own individual and nobody's going to say anything, then that's chaotic in its own way. So there has to be some vision. That vision has to be based, like traditionally all communities like kind of like they worked around the concept of like a god or a temple or religion, right? That was like the focal point that everybody was like, you know, working around. And then you had different roles of society, like in the caste system of India, you know, you have the Brahmins who did the services and such, and you have the Kshatriyas who did the warlike, you know, the service of protection, right? And then you have the Vaishyas who did the service of like, you know, trading, and the Sudras who had the service of serving, etc. You know, you're gonna have to have roles of people when you have a group of them. If you're living alone, then you have to do everything. But if you have a group of people, then people have to have different roles. Understanding how they're going to work together, that's going to be part of the transparency of like actually communicating with each other. Is like, hey, what do you want to do? What do we need to do?
Exactly. Like this isn't necessarily related to duties, but just one component is, I talk about solo journeys. It's probably going to mimic some kind of Native American culture and other, you know, like a combination of several, but just like I definitely resonate with that. But I kept talking about how, you know, there's communal living to some extent. Obviously you have your own space, but that I would have a place where you go to have that ability to have that solo journey, or to be by yourself completely away. And I highly encourage that time for, you know, some sort of reset, because it's easy to get caught up in I think other emotions, which is what can make us sometimes ill. And I think sometimes having that ability to separate and reset is important.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, you know, perhaps like, you know, like shamanic activities or ceremonies are very good to cleanse people, whatever which way, you know, and people can get kind of like, you know, it gets into like a hippie type of territory or whatnot. But like, you know, I'm more pragmatic in terms of like what works. Okay. And I've experienced a lot in terms of like, you know, like, you know, dealing with different type of alchemical type of stuff like DMT and ayahuasca type of stuff, but they are kind of things to help people reset Because like a lot of people are dealing with emotional trauma, psychological trauma, physical trauma, et cetera, and you're not going to be able to be a member of a productive society if you have to deal with this trauma day in and day out. And this is where you're getting at. But like at the end of the day, you have to have a goal in mind. So a goal, all those things are ideas that you have to actually put into paper and be able to think through, right? And say, okay, we want to ultimately be free. What is it you want? You want to be free, but how do you become free? We still need to eat. We still need to have fresh water. We still need to have shelter, these type of things. So how are we going to procure those things, right?
Yes. And I have done not enough. I mean, I don't know if there'll ever be enough, but I've done a lot of research on this topics in the regenerative land concept. And so being able to live sustainably. And then because of knowing BurnEye and the high possibilities of easily, like just being able to create free energy from copper coils and or from the ionosphere, like the free energy capabilities are there. And I don't feel like I'm not into the heavy technology. That would definitely be something that people would have to help work with me on. There's got to be some happy balance with that, especially with like bringing in different signals or who knows what, like with if we're still going to use like Wi-Fi, because obviously there's still potential for some sort of internet. Regardless, what I'm getting at is that I just would have that be somewhat strict. The use of the energies for very specific things, like for very specific conveniences. But like things we don't realize is like how people have been able to store ice all summer long. Like in Alaska, this is a common practice where they take sawdust in the barn and they store their ice and it lasts, through some of these hotter days. Of course, they don't deal with quite the hotness of, some of the southern states, but just saying like these are things that we don't. That's a very basic way of cooling. There's other systems. It's not just that. Like there's actually good tech on the Egyptians had, like they built domes and they had a way to do cooling and heating systems on their own. So.
Well, first you need to have a template about like what it is that you're for and all this kind of stuff, and then the question that you're asking is more of a logistic aspect of it. Like you can have the same template and have it like mushroom out in like northern Canada or America or Central America. It doesn't matter, but like the kind of food, kind of like things that you're going to have to deal with is a logistical issue. Is very much dependent on the kind of land and the region that you're at, right? And as far as power is concerned, is very much dependent on like how much power can you generate, and it's always going to have to go towards the things that are the most priority. So you have to have a clear understanding of what, like refrigerator or like pumping the water is the most priority thing. So we're gonna use our energy for that. And if there's abundance of energy, then we can use that energy for whatever else. But like if it's limited, then you have to prioritize what that energy is going to be utilized for. I mean, it's just like logic. It's just logical.
And so like part of the show I'm doing, just to like continue to talk about the foundation too, is to go through all these different topics and then also get into like sustainable building and show these examples and talk it out with people, but then build some of these documents right in front of them, show them the PMA paperwork, and then also be very transparent on the budgeting and the funding coming in and where it's all going, because I'm very raw and real, and that's very important to me as far as like if you're in here, like you're coming in with authenticity. So there's definitely like
it's about trust.
Just like application process, more or less, just like to make sure that people are serious.
There's got to be a vetting process. So there's going to be multiple layers of how you vet people, being able to read people, because like if you create something attractive, people are going to want it, and like it's just like no different from their people's resume. People lie about their resumes all the time, right? So like when you go through like the quote unquote the interview process, whomever the one he is interviewing, you're the one who's going to determine whether or not you're going to bring somebody. But if you're not like very good at reading people, and then you don't know what their actual intentions are, then you're not going to be able to bring somebody. But if you're like very good at reading people, and then you don't know what their actual intentions are, then you're not going to be able to bring somebody. But if you're not like very good at reading people, and then you don't know what their actual intentions are, then you're not going to be able to bring somebody. But if you're like very good at reading people, and then you don't know what their actual intentions are, then you're not going to be able to bring somebody. But if you're like very good at reading people, and then you don't know what their actual intentions are, then you're not going to be able to bring somebody. But if you're like very good at reading people, and then you don't know what their actual intentions are, then you're not going to be able to bring somebody. But if you're like very good at reading people, and then you don't know what their actual intentions are, then you're not going to be able to bring somebody. But if you're like very good at reading people, and then you don't know what their actual intentions are, then you're not going to be able to bring somebody. But if you're like very good at reading people, and then you don't know what their actual intentions are, then you're not going to be able to b Yeah, I'm not saying that you can completely come to know, but you can come to a pretty good idea of being able to judge people's character. I would say, like if
I
you've known
I
people and
overall, yeah, overall, I feel like I've always had that innate. Like I can really weed out the heavy hitters pretty quick because their energy I can feel pretty like before often they even walk into the room, and I'm like, oh, that's where it was coming from. But now I'm more in tune with it. I'm not trying to say I'm going to just use my ESP to try to determine who they are. I'll do a little bit more research on that aspect of like getting a better sense of the person. There's all kinds of like detectors on that, but again, they're gonna weed themselves out. This isn't a free. This isn't you're coming in for free to just live around for free, but this is a support system because like I'm somebody without kids and currently like immediate family. I do have immediate family. I'm saying like husband kids kind of situation, and so not that. And I may potentially be like nun status for the rest of my life. And just considering that, I think it would be nice to have a community where it's the takes it village. I can live alone. I can be alone. I can do all those things. I'm currently have really worked towards that. And as far as building up my healing and my independence, but I definitely, again, it takes a village concept, I think is important to talk about. Because why is it so difficult to raise children right now? Because it wasn't like that previously. You had your neighbors to help you.
It used to be community, and it's about going back to a sense of community and building from the ground up a new community.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like it.
And I mean, it can be done. I mean, it was done in the past. I mean, like we didn't have all these like concrete jungles, like it existed, like maybe somewhere in time, but like originally, we did have tribes and we did have tribal rule, and we had shamans, we had lords and all this kind of stuff. It's just about like we have a new understanding of how to work together, and vetting people is a important thing. You're going to need gardeners, you're going to need doctors, you're going to need teachers, right? And you're not so worried about like, oh, am I going to find a partner, am I going to settle down with somebody? Is first, what's the vision? The vision is the most important thing, and then families will come, like mothers and fathers, those guys will come. But like with that, there's going to be new dynamics about like, hey, how are we going to engage with each other? Like with maybe over time people will get married. What would that mean? What would that mean for a society as well, with that community as well? So those things can be thought out, but you cannot iron out everything.
Yeah, that's true. And why I want to iron it out with other people. But have you heard of the Anastasia books out of Russia?
Yes, I have them all. I haven't gone through them yet, but the Anastasia books, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's like kind of the premise I feel like I want to go towards with a little bit of a spin on it. But just that whole regenerative, like you just said, like you're having the children, and what does that mean? Well, we used to do that, and what did that mean for our connection with our ancestors? Because we were literally like recycling that energy directly back into everything. What we ate, what we pooped out, everything just went right back in, and we just kept doing this.
Like in Russian, like family is semya. Sem means seven, and ya means I. So it's like it requires 7 of us to raise a family, So it's like the idea of like, it takes a village. It takes a village to raise a child. And like we don't, nobody owns children. I mean, like you're responsible for them, but you're bringing life into this world, and they're going to be the future. They're going to be the future of humanity, and they're going to be people who have children, and they're going to be a part of the system, and so they become the cogs in the wheel of that system. But what we really want is to create a breakaway society where we can be quote unquote independent and be free to have our own free energy, be able to have our own free thoughts, our own system of quote unquote governance. There's going to be some enforcement that's going to be needed, but that's again something to talk about. We're going to have like like as a man, I tell you, like you got to have men who is willing to like be able to You know, you're not gonna have. You can't just have weak men, you know, there and be like, oh, you know, like love and peace, love
You
and
heard
peace.
what he
Like fuck
said.
that shit. You know, you can't.
Oh, it's true.
You
Yeah.
that
You can't
you're
just
just
have
gonna
a
get
bunch
run
of
over.
weirdos running.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I definitely I definitely am along that line. Just to, again, like you were saying, there's a certain structure. Like there's certain people that fit. It's a little bit of a puzzle piece factor. It's like everybody's kind of got
Yes.
their right. And I'm not a big believer on masters. Like I kind of feel like everybody should be a jack of all trades. You know, maybe a master of some kind of a thing.
Yeah, so there's two ideas about that. Like you know, the most difficult aspect of it to me is like what kind of structure do you want to create? That because that's going to be like the thing, like the foundation upon the society or the community is going to be built on. What kind of structure, right? So is it going to be a leader or group of leaders? I mean, like you know, when people get kind of a little bit um scared about this word, you know, they get a little bit weary about like you know who qualifies as a leader and stuff like that. Actually these things are quite apparent, like you know, in terms of like intelligence and like in history all the leaders had very pretty much same quality. They were like shamanic leaders where you know they understood the alchemical process, they understood about the spirituality aspect, but they were honorable men or women. You still have to be honorable whether you're a man or a woman, right? And then you had to be intelligent and probably like you know physically strong as well. So these are these different. They're not qualifications in itself, like any one of these categories, but like overall, you know, you have a like kind of a strong sense of yourself, and you know who is who within the community, you know. And then it's not that they dominate other people to be a leader, right? It's the fact that they are able to engage with people and work together with people. That's what makes them a quote unquote a good leader.
Yes, so it's not a round table. And Bernie, I want you to talk. It's, remember that thing in school with the big parachute that you pulled out and then you all went under it together?
Yeah. I
Right.
remember
Well,
that.
I agree with both. Like you gotta have the strong leaders in each community, but then you have to have round tables with all the strong leaders together, sort of thing, right?
Or just to give people a voice, right?
But it's natural. Natural leaders always establish themselves.
And
Yeah,
the
I mean,
natural
like
never put others down. They always bring them up and educate them. So it's definitely
Yes.
like patting them on the back and helping them come right back up to their level, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's about transparency. It's about transparency, like telling people what the intention is and how you're going to achieve that goal. And that's why you need all the brain power, you know, like the community. I mean, like obviously, you know, like if somebody has something to say about the matter, let them speak. Ultimately, it's about reputation. Like if you say bullshit over and over and over again, that's going to be your reputation. They're gonna have to fucking live with that. Okay, that's not gonna look good on you. Okay, and I would avoid trying to do that. You know, if you got nothing to add, then don't say shit. Right? Like it's quite simple, but not everybody actually practices that. Like everybody thinks that because they have a voice that they have to say something. It doesn't work that way. It's about what is needed, and then do you have something to contribute to that? If you don't, shut the fuck up and let the men talk, or the women who can contribute to that also talk. Right? Anybody who can contribute, let them talk.
Good save on that little last part. No, I'm just kidding. Let the women also talk. No, I'm teasing, but just definitely, and I am owning that, and I would own in the situation that I'm equally like at fault of trying to fill voids or overstepping, talking over when I should just take a deep breath and listen a little longer, and if it's important, that'll come back.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a merit-based system.
If they don't leave a message, then it must not be that important. So it'll come back. Okay, sorry. Stupid.
I've learned to mute myself out. Like, you know, if you're only, everybody has their specialties, right? And when it's not your specialty, shut the fuck up and let others talk. And it's That's why I hit the mute button.
Yeah, I mean, like, people do have their specialty for sure, and being able to like encourage people to go into the field that they're passionate about, and then that passion is actually going to be a positive contribution to themselves because you're doing what you want to do, and also for society. I mean, that's a win-win situation. That's a win-win situation. But it's about transparency. You gotta have to have transparency because, like, whether you're dealing with money or resources, these are all categorizable, accountable things, and people want to know how it is being used. People want to know what they're getting for the work that they put in, and that has to be transparent. Like, transparency is the thing that's going to glue people together and develop more trust with one another. Now, that doesn't mean like you have to tell all secrets to everybody about, like, let's say, where's the power off button in case, like, like the whole of community needs to be shut down for whatever reason, and then the kids are going to like frolic around and then go there and then turn the whole thing, shut down the whole system. Like, you don't need to talk about these
Out of
kind of things, but to talk about
curiosity, yeah, that's a good point.
yeah, like, so be wise about the things that you're dealing with. Be wise about it. Okay.
Work smarter,
Thank
not
you.
harder.
You'll be a part of this the discussion more, hopefully. But also because, like, my thought is that in some ways this could be a blueprint for others to be able to do this elsewhere.
Oh,
Absolutely.
definitely.
I mean, I thought about it a lot. I mean, I dabble in many different categories, but like this is time now to be thinking about these. Whether you and I do it together or any one of us work together to create it, it doesn't matter. We still have an interest to be a part of a community, and we still have an interest in how that community is going to work, and to iron out our doubts, to iron out like what it is, the foundation of that process is going to be beneficial to every one of us.
Exactly. It's beautiful. Aren't you glad I brought him up, or he came over here, I should say, because I didn't bring you over. You came over on your own today.
Oh, well, you did bring me up. You didn't have to bring me up. Right?
That's true.
Manifest.
Talk about blasphemous if keep you in the back. Sorry, Bernie, what were you going to say?
You manifested Nash being here, and it's awesome and epic. Oh, look at a kitty! Gotta have a kitty in every show. A kitty or a puppy.
No, we had a good conversation. Over at the OTW's channel, and I immediately sensed her energy, and she also sensed my energy, and we exchanged emails, and then here we are. And this is the part of the manifestation process. It's like neurons reaching out to each other and then connecting, and more neurons connecting with each other, right? You're going to have a holistic, a bigger picture. And that's, each neuron is going to have their own specialty, but more connected that they are, it's kind of like the mushrooms, how myceliums work, right?
Yeah.
More powerful it becomes.
Which is like the resonance thing. And like one thing I was showing tonight was like styrofoam getting moved by resonance frequency, right? And like how, right.
Absolutely.
The more energy, the better. And the law of one, the law of attraction, and it's coming together, and we keep it going. And you're already 7 hours and 11 minutes in right now. 7-11.
7-11. Thank you all for being here.
11.
This has been awesome. Like I said, the way this conversation has kind of swirled around tonight, just my favorite part is coming back to the kind of the same idea and the same like that's the other thing is there's a little bit more of a talk about okay, what's next steps, which is what I'm really enjoying instead of like falling back into the same thing. So
yeah, all in good time. Everything has its timing, everything has its seasons and fruition, and you have to plant the seeds, and then you have to let it digest, or what is the gestation period? Like you have to let it grow, sprout, and all this kind of. You have to water the plants. So there's a process involved in creation, because we're working with time. Things don't happen like this. It requires thought. It requires actual like energy of intention and thinking through things. It's like, I'm a chess player, so I think in terms of moves and how that move impacts my future, right? And like, so you have to think along those lines about like what kind of moves are you going to be making now that's going to trajectory in this direction or trajectory in that direction, like, and how is that going to be of a benefit to you or a detriment to you, right?
Exactly. And is it, do you have to play along a little bit to get there, which might be the case, but I'm hopeful.
We're in a they call it lila in Sanskrit. Lila means play. This life is lila. This life is play. We're here to, and then with it, you can take your life seriously, but you can also take it as a joke. Both are just as legitimate, and it's a play. We're on a stage, do your role,
I did not
be
know that was
yourself.
the meaning. That's crazy. These
And like you
connections.
said, it's in a stage and we're in play. And it's what role do you want to play and what role are you going to put your energy into playing and manifesting and leaving your mark in this realm, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
But
whether you're a famous...
Sorry, actually,
go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm probably gonna sign off here as it is 2:14 in the morning and getting a little bit late, and I have to work tomorrow. But I thank you so much for having me on, Sarah, and pleasure to meet you now.
And I hate to do this too, but I'm gonna call it. So I'll close us out. I'll play one of my
gotta let Nash finish his thoughts too.
Oh yeah, sorry. Of course. I was just saying that, just because of the timing and everything. But I think Nash, you get that because it's been like 7.5 hours.
It's all good. No worries, and thanks for having me on. And we'll have time to have this conversation, in the future. We'll set things up, and then we'll be more structured in a way, because like we talked about a lot of different things and we kind of go in all kinds of directions, and that's good. We just we needed this time to kind of break the ice and get to know each other. And BurnEye, it's good meeting you, and I've seen some of your work before, and I commend you for the work that you're doing, and continue doing what you do. And like, we need people who are like specialized in different fields, and you're into the alchemy, like Tartaria stuff, and that's great. We need people who are looking into that type of stuff as well, right? So everybody's got a role to play. I think everybody's got like crypto alchemist. Yes. So anyways, it's good that we broke the ice a little bit, got to know each other, and then thanks for having me on, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Right?
And sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your thought process.
I look forward to the next one. This awesome stuff.
And you can see what Exotic Propulsion here is setting up a double slit live manifest session. So yes, please. Awesome.
Right?
Sorry. Yeah, that's why I was doing that. I didn't mean
to make it legit. We're gonna have to have Nash back for that one, because you're in India on the other side of the world, and the ancient Eastern energy over there, and
right,
over 2/3 of the world's population. Right. We need your representation. So
I only represent myself.
Australia. We need Australia, the UK, somebody from Russia. So we have to get that person into our group yet. Oh wait. Bochard, no, is he from Russia? No, he's from Germany. Sorry, never mind. We talked about this already. Or no, he's not. I forget.
Yes.
I did that last time, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, we'll make these connections. It'll be great. And I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Let me close this out with one of my little hiking videos so you guys can enjoy some moments of Zen. Thank you, Notch, again. Appreciate you guys. BurnEye, you're awesome. Everybody in the chat, you guys have been awesome and super engaging as per usual. Appreciate you all. Much love.
Love you all.